What's going on, everyone? My name is Tobias Rose, and I'm the principal and the creative director here at this illustrious studio on Black Wall Street known as Kompleks Creative. And you are here and locked into Konversations. This is the show that we do whenever the hell we want to do it. Sometimes we do it on weekends, sometimes we do it on Mondays, Tuesdays, whenever we want to do it. Every hour, every second, every week, every month, every year, whatever. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, you were locked in, and I have a good friend of mine. She's been a friend to Kompleks and a friend to Durham for some time now. I want to introduce you to a person who I love, who has one of the most pottiest of the mouths in Durham, but is one of the realest of the reals in Durham, one of the realest people I know, one of the coolest people I know, someone who really sticks up for, you know, what we wanted Durham to be when we started sitting around planning on how we were going to keep Durham dirty. She was one of the people that said, you know what, let's retain what the city is and let's try to hold on to this little piece of land. Let's program it. Let's hold space for the Durham community. So I want to introduce to you Miss Erin Kauffman. Erin, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Was that all right?
That was the best introduction I've ever had.
I practiced that. That's why I was up to 3 o'clock in the morning. I was writing it all out. So how you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
I was not up till 3 o'clock in the morning.
So anyway, I wanted to talk to you a bit. I want to talk to you about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This is our first time really getting a chance to sit down and chop it up, and so I wanted to do it on film. And so this is Konversations. I don't know if you've been paying attention to it, but this is one of the coolest things in Durham right now. No one knows about it.
I agree. I've been watching.
Yeah, thank you. It's not out yet, but thank you.
Well, I mean, I watched your old ones.
Oh, the old ones?
Yeah, the old ones. Yeah, I mean,
That's
so
right.
maybe not this season.
Okay.
I've heard good stuff.
Nice. So I want to talk to you about how you even became the executive director for Durham Central Park. This is, when y'all think about Durham Central Park, when you go there, you never really think about, like, who are the people that make this thing happen? This is one of the people that makes that thing happen. So how did you end up in this position and end up doing this thing that you do?
Well, that's a great question. So, I mean, I feel like everything in my life has just been like, oh, this would be a cool next step.
Yeah.
So before I had this job, I was the manager of the Durham Farmers Market, which is at Durham Central Park. And when I had that position, I got to be on the board of directors, and I mean, I was like 24, 25, and I was like, I felt like way out of my depth. Which is often how I feel every day of my life.
Likewise, I'm the same boat. It's like, sometimes it's impostor syndrome. Like, should I really be? People don't know. I don't know if I really know all this stuff. Can I do it? So, I mean, that's what leaders do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was young. I was figuring things out. I met lots of people. I kind of knew how things were going. And I was really ready to not manage the farmers market anymore because it's a really, really hard job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 2 times a week presenting a huge event.
Wow.
And it's like in the summertime, it's just like in this tunnel of like, okay, what's the next thing? Just keep going. It's August. It's terrible outside. It's so hot.
It's a marathon.
God, everything's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hot. And in North Carolina hot, you got mosquitoes too.
Yeah.
So.
And everybody's grumpy in August.
Yeah.
And so by the time it would get to like this time of year, everybody's like,
Yeah, you don't want to deal with that.
So my husband, so I kept being like, oh, I gotta find another job. And he's like, Erin, you run a whole organization. Don't take a step down. Because I'd send him like listings for like program managers at nonprofits or this or that. And he's like, that's like, you have this great skill set. I'm like, I just know how to run a farmer's market. It's no big deal. And he's like,
yeah, it's a big deal.
Come on.
Yeah.
So I was on the board of directors at Durham Central Park, and I knew that the executive director was going to retire, and I was like, hey, Ann, I want your job. And she's like, well, then apply for it. And I had just had a baby, and he was like 6 months old, and my mind was just like a puddle.
Right.
And she's like, Erin, you said you wanted to apply for it. You have to apply for it by Monday. And I was like, oh, okay, because like time had passed, and I had not done it. Right. And she's like, if you want to, time is running out, get on it. So my husband and I spent the weekend like doing the cover letter and all that kind of stuff, and I was so nervous and just like, oh, this is never gonna work.
Wow.
And then they hired me. And I mean, at my interview, I remember saying, hey, so I don't know how to run a nonprofit. I don't really have any experience fundraising, but I know what the deal is here, and I know everybody.
You came in and said, I don't know how to do anything, but I know what the deal is.
Exactly.
I know the deal. Yo, that's hilarious.
And it was at this point where they were doing, like, all the developments were happening, and so there was lots of talking with the developers in the city about how that would impact the park, and I knew how the community was feeling about it. Like everybody was angry and disgusted and like worried, and so I felt like I had this great position where like I understood what was happening in meetings and with the city and all that kind of stuff, and I understood like what the people were saying, because I remember being at the farmers market, people being like, "What's up with Liberty? Are you okay with it?" I'm like, I can tell you some stuff about it, but.
And that was around the time when Liberty, so that was the transition from it being the place where we had, I think was Happy Mess wasn't over there. It was the Scrap Exchange
was over there, and then a bunch of artist studios were in there.
I remember the Scrap Exchange being over there, and just, they had Liberty, what was it they were doing? It was like a foundry or something.
Yeah, Liberty Arts.
Liberty Arts,
yeah,
okay.
So they operated out of there. They still operate out of that pavilion. They still have pours there.
Nice.
And they're going to have an iron pour at the park.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's insane. You should come.
Well, yeah, if he's doing an iron pour.
Yeah, it's like molten fiery metal in the lawn of the pavilion. Yeah, we do this every year.
You know, sometimes at night when I go home, I look at YouTube videos where they just burn stuff, and they what they'll do sometimes is they'll get like I don't know what this thing is called, but they'll light it up to like 1,000 degrees, and they'll just start melting stuff, like melting all kind of crazy stuff, and then they'll put it in the molds. I don't know why I'm into this. It's the weirdest thing. So I will likely be there during the iron pour, and I won't know why, but I'm going to be there.
I will make sure that you are there. This sounds like it's right.
It's up my alley. You just, that and then crushing things. There's this YouTube video where they just crush stuff under this pressure thing.
Oh, I've seen
you
stuff
know what
like
I'm talking about?
I've seen it, yeah.
So I get into that. I love it. So you guys have retained kind of or working to retain the identity of Central Park, the Central Park district.
Yeah, that's been a big focus of mine, of like, Durham's changing all around us, and there's nothing that I can do as an individual to stop gentrification, and it's like, it just is a matter of fact. So what are we going to do with this space? We're going to make it a space where everybody feels comfortable, where everybody feels welcome. We are the backyard of lots of condos and apartments that are very expensive, but we're not just the backyard of condos and apartments. We're Durham's urban park where everybody can be. So we put a big focus on making sure that all of our events that we present are free, and that they're not just like, that they're, it's like a diverse offering. And we realize like we can't do all the programming, and there's lots of great groups that do amazing programming. So we've made partnerships with Black August in the Park, with the LGBTQ Center, so that both of those events have a central location where they can, like the Pride concert and Black August are always there, except when there's a global pandemic. They have not been there for the last 2 years, but next year feels really, really
it feels good.
Good.
We said that last year. We were like, it's a pandemic now, but 2021, we're gonna be good. Everything's gonna be all right. You wait until the summer of 2021. There ain't gonna be no pandemic. Here we are.
Let's just lie to ourselves again. 2022 is gonna be great.
2022 is gonna be great. Oh my gosh. We're watching to see what happens in 2022. No, we're still gonna be in a pandemic. But I hope we're not. But so I love the fact that you are working to retain that. Can you tell me a bit about the transition? Because the Central Park that you were hired into is not the same Central Park that it is today. And I know from firsthand knowledge that there's been a lot of advocacy work on your behalf, like things that you've been doing to try to retain that. Some things you can't really help. But what has that experience been like for you in you trying to kind of retain that, but certain inevitabilities happening?
I feel like I'm boiling inside sometimes.
Good gracious, I feel it. Me too. I feel the same way, seriously. So I understand.
It's really hard because I have to be really careful with what I say sometimes, because I have my own opinions.
Me and your opinions usually kind of match up.
Yes, they do. I remember I saw you at Coco Cinnamon one time, and I I was like losing my mind. And you were like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, let me tell you about everything that's going on in my life. And you're like, yes.
Because it's the same thing I'm probably going through. I get it. Trust me, I get it. It's a lot.
And I don't think I'd ever really talked to you for more than like,
yeah.
Hey, what's up, Tobias? Nice to see you.
I've been around Durham now since '99, so I've seen a lot of things happen. I've been a part of a lot of things, and I'm seeing a lot of things happen right now. So I get it.
Well, so kind of to better answer your question, besides boiling inside and being careful with my words, like I have to really figure out how we can make things benefit the whole community. So yeah, there are definitely inevitabilities.
Right.
Big buildings are going to go up.
We have one in front of us right now.
Yeah.
You can see it miles away.
There's nothing we can do about that, but how can I work with the Durham Central Park Board of Directors, the city, and the developers to negotiate benefits for the whole community? Whether it's, several of the things that we've gotten improvements in the park are improvements in sidewalks. And you know what you can't raise money for? Sidewalks,
yeah.
Because
trees too.
Trees. We've gotten a lot of trees.
Yeah.
Trees are a little bit easier to raise money for than sidewalks.
You're right, they are, but sidewalks are just concrete. So,
yeah, they're not interesting. So, so it's like tiny wins. And I just have to really remind myself when somebody's like, downtown's changed so much. And I'm like, well, we got a free sidewalk out of it,
you got a free one.
Isn't this nice?
It's cool too, because I remember when y'all didn't have a sidewalk and things were rough, but now that you have one, things have changed. No, the things that, again, to go back to what we were talking about, the things that you were doing, the things that you do, I hope the community appreciates it. Because just like you said, when you said that, I knew exactly where you were at. I remember that day too.
Yeah.
And it's funny, people like you, I'm gonna shout out Candy Carver, she's another friend of mine. She, same deal, she'll come to me, well, she doesn't even have to say anything. She'll just look at me and be like, I know, I already know. But that's the work that we do when we're trying to retain the community's identity.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. You talked a bit about your partners with Black August in the Park and the LGBTQ community. Again, shout out to Jay Clapp. The whole Black August team. Y'all, they're friends of Kompleks and Black Wall Street as well. But you had to pivot. And I've talked about this with all the guests at Konversations, and I told you this was coming.
Yeah.
So can you tell me about March 2020, February 2020, like that period where you realized we may not be able to bring people together in our park for a while. That's going to affect our revenue. What was that like? Can you take me back to that series of emotions and you coming to grips? Because I know for me, and I just went back, I just gave Samantha access to our Eventbrite and realized, man, we were doing a big party right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I remember that feeling of, oh yeah, everything is done. Nothing's happening. What was it like for you being a person who does events? Like, even though you are the ED now, you're still doing events but in a different capacity, and that's kind of how you guys get paid. What is that like?
Wow, this is really stressful.
Yeah.
I have a hard time, like, the pandemic of like, oh my God. First it was like, well, school's closed for 2 weeks. That's cool. So we're like, okay, my husband and I like, oh, well, just, not see my parents, just tag team, working kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's fine. So we decided to cancel the March food truck rodeo. And that usually, that's actually a fundraiser for us, because the food trucks pay to be there, and we market it, and we have everything set up for them, and then we have sponsors. And
very nice.
It's great. It's a big free party for the park, or for like the community. Where they can gorge themselves.
I used to enjoy it a lot more. I've lost a little weight. But
we haven't had one in 18 months now.
Thank you. It's been good on my waistline. I appreciate you.
I was like, oh, that's just the one thing. It'll be fine. And then it was like, all of our rentals started canceling, and I was like, that's how we get a lot of our revenue. And how are we going to do like fundraisers, we just have parties with lots of people. Oh my God. So we spent a lot of time looking at the budget, and I found a whole lot of solace of like looking at numbers and being like, okay, well, if we shift this here and we shift that there, we can make this work. And I kept saying to the board of like, hey, I've got a kindergartner at that point. I can't work more than 4 hours a day. So I totally understand if you would like to like cut my pay.
Right.
Because I get it. Like I'm not doing my job to any sort of capacity. I'm stressed the hell out because I have a little kid at home who's like mental health is spiraling. My husband and I are like staying up late or getting up early, and I'm losing my mind. And Chantal was the president. She's like, Erin, come on. And our board was like, oh no, our only priority here is to make sure that our staff doesn't get like, we don't cut pay. And I was like, I remember going home after a meeting and just be like, crying because I was like, oh my God, they're so wonderful.
Oh, man.
But I don't know how we're gonna do it because we have like, because of that, we got like a $30,000 hole. No, it was a $50,000 hole to fill. And I was like, it's never gonna
That's a whole
work.
person's salary right there. Like, gosh.
But a couple of our board members like, oh, we'll just do a whole lot of fundraising and we'll fix that hole. And I was like, okay. And so they came up with this scheme of like how we're gonna ask our major donors, make the case of like, this is the situation that we're facing. We know that lots of people are facing these situations. Can you increase this year's donation and then make a 3-year pledge?
Wow.
And very quickly, like, we were able to not have a big block of red at the bottom of the budget spreadsheet, which was really heartening of like, oh, people know and people care, and the people that can help are helping, and they're really stepping up to like make sure that the Durham Central Park, the organization, can weather this storm. And it was really amazing. I mean, and then, with all the things that Trump was doing with the stock market, like all of a sudden, like, rich people were just getting richer. So like, they're like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
Which was amazing that people are like, oh yeah, my stock portfolio is going through the roof. Of course I will donate more. It was weird. But people really, really stepped up and supported the park in that period. And it gave us a lot more opportunities to get to know our donors and to have like one-on-one conversations with them, which is something that's like always been in the back of mind. But then, all of a sudden there's like graffiti all over the park. So like the shift that day is like deal with graffiti, not deal with donors. So it was great to kind of have that opportunity to do that and to have a better, like have some more exercise in like, how do you make the case for supporting this space and why is it important? There's another pivot.
Go ahead.
That I wanted to tell you about. So we rent the pavilion to people.
Yep. I was getting ready. That's what I was getting ready to ask you about.
Yeah. And so we were like, okay, so no more than 10 people can gather. We cannot justify making 10 people pay $400 to rent the pavilion.
No.
So we changed it up and we now rent the pavilion hourly. And that gives me so much more flexibility to be like, okay, you can pay $10 an hour, you can pay $60 an hour, because if it's like on a weekday morning, and if they want to rent it for an hour for like a yoga class,
that makes sense. Yeah.
So we can be really flexible on that, which I mean, I was like, oh, it's going to be such a pain in the ass to manage that.
No.
But it's not. It actually isn't. I mean, it was just a shift in my brain. That's usually the biggest hurdle of like, just do something different.
I think that happened with everyone. A lot of us, especially us in business, we had to shift our brains and shift the way that we think.
Yeah.
Me included. Now my team comes in Tuesdays through Thursdays. They stay home and they work from home Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah.
And originally I was just like, no, I need them here every day.
Yeah.
I need to teach them every day. They need to be here so we can fix everything. But giving them that flexibility also gave me the flexibility.
Yeah.
So now on Mondays and Fridays, there are things that I can take care of. I usually ask, what did people take from the pandemic? And I usually liken this to 9/11 and how now when we go through the airports, everything is different.
Yeah.
Even when you're in the airplane, things are different. They don't feed you as much as they used to before 9/11. So I hear you in terms of the hourly. You changed your business model. Are there any other things that you feel that you've taken with you from this pandemic that you feel are going to still be here once this pandemic is over?
I mean, just kind of my general attitude of like, we just kind of roll with the punches. Like,
Yeah.
there's no place for like just absolute rigidity anymore, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you never know like when a new variant's going to come and then you have to cancel all your events and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just kind of has to like shift your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I just, we got to do what works for the community, and that's the thing. Like it like opened up the space for more people, and that's the whole point. Like everybody wants to be outside,
Mm-hmm.
and not everybody has the same budget. So if I can say, hey, it's $60 an hour on a Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
but it's $20 an hour on a Tuesday morning, let's talk and find a way to like make your thing work. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like I just never know what's gonna happen.
I agree.
And I just gotta roll with it and try and have this like positive mental attitude of like everything's gonna work out and it's gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what fine is gonna look like, but it will be fine.
It made you stronger as a business person. Like, you know, now you can take on anything. You took on a pandemic. You're still taking on a pandemic. You know,
And you can always look in the budget and like change the numbers around and see
can
if it works.
you know, somebody told me that years ago. Someone said they're numbers. You can you know, change not, you don't want to just change numbers illegally, but you know, you can make more money. You know, you can lose more money. They're numbers. They fluctuate.
Yeah.
So someone told me that, and I don't know why, but it made me feel a lot more comfortable about dealing with finances.
Yeah.
When they said that to me. You talked a bit about your advocacy earlier, and you know, kind of fighting gentrification. How do you do that on lockdown? How do you fight gentrification? How do you you know, serve as an advocate for the community when things are happening and you just don't know because you're in the house? So what does that look like? How does that look like? How did it look for you?
Really messy. It was interesting, like, with the, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question, so I'm going to talk for a couple minutes and see if anything comes out.
How did you fight the I don't want to say the developers, because there are good developers out there, but how did you fight gentrification while we were on lockdown?
I worked really hard to make sure that the space was accessible, and you know, there were problems. There were lots of problems.
Yeah.
You know, homeless shelters were closed.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so, what do people do when it's raining, or like, so there's, and like I don't. But the thing is, like, the space needs to be available for everybody, and it can't be like an encampment, but we can't be like homelessness is a crime. So you know, we made a concerted effort to work with organizations that help people who are homeless, and because there were a bunch of people who were living there, and we're like, hey guys, this is happening at this time, just wanted to let you know. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. But also, like, what kind of resources can we help you with? Because obviously, like, you don't want to live here.
Yeah.
So just trying really hard to be open and thoughtful and with a mind towards like helping people, and that really was good. I mean, a lot of those people who were not able to be in shelters or became homeless, with some like nudging of other organizations that do help people, a lot of them found housing. And like, we'd kind of check in with them every once in a while, and they're like,
oh, gosh,
sorry
yes.
we're still here, but like something's gonna open us up for me in like a month. And we're like, that's cool, I'm glad you're okay. So I mean, that was a problem during the pandemic, and I don't know how that really answers the question of like fighting gentrification, but it's just like
it answers it in a really good way that no one else would have answered it. And I think homelessness is something that people ignore too much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you did. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you.
I mean, I don't like I don't want that to be like a way to like be part of gentrification, but like we're all part of the community, no matter if you live in the penthouse apartment next to the park or you don't have a place to stay and it's raining and you just sleep under the pavilion. So like, I try, like my goal is, we all live in Durham. I love Durham. I moved here and I loved it. It was gritty, it was empty, it was like a whole bunch of weirdos. And I was like, this feels more like home than anywhere I've ever lived before. So I feel really passionate about that. And I know that people come into Durham from all over the place. There's 2 universities, that bring people from all over the place, and just like fascinating, amazing people. And I think there's space for everybody. And so I don't want to be like, nope, Durham's only for like the weirdos who've been here for 15 years or more. But like Durham Central Park is for the people who live in the apartments, and it is for the guy who's down on his luck.
That's right.
And so how do we make it comfortable and welcoming and accessible to everybody? And so I have to remind myself, like, the most inexpensive thing that I can do is be kind to people.
My mama used to tell me that all the time. She used to say, just be nice, smile. It's hard for me to smile. I just have this face that looks like I'm always angry. So if people are like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. I'm happy right now. So she's always just like, smile, be nice, and you're right. It's one of the most inexpensive things you could do. I think that what you kind of touched on is something that a lot of other, not just nonprofit leaders, but business owners can pay more attention to. We had some homeless family out here in the alley for a while. And it got to a point where I would come in and we'd throw my hand up. What's up, man? What's going on? He's like, I'll be out in a second. It's cool. And that was early in the morning. He knew, early in the morning, he'd get himself together and he would roll out. Wouldn't see him again for the rest of the day. And then around 1 o'clock in the morning, they would go over there and go to sleep and try to leave. They were trying to leave before people were out.
Yeah.
And so that's what made me realize, like, wow, there is almost an underground community that comes out and finds a place to sleep around downtown. They're not bothering anyone. They're just trying to find a place to sleep.
Yeah.
And I think that, that humanity that you had, that's something that I hope when people watch this and listen to this, they take it, they rewind it, and they internalize it, because people are people. So that is just amazing to hear you say.
Well, it's really interesting. So I was talking to somebody who has a similar position to mine in another, I'm not going to name any names, but in a city in North Carolina.
Okay. It's a city in North Carolina.
And he was, we've been dealing with some other issues, and I was like, I'll just reach out to him and see like what they're dealing with. And he's like, yeah, we've been dealing with a lot of homelessness, and you know what the city council won't do is deal with it compassionately. And I was like, what?
Yep.
I was like, there's like so many city resources in Durham that I can call and like help people like find their way to like a better place and like find their way to getting funding, because they don't know how to like find, there's like pandemic resources for people who are homeless. That, it's all online, so it's like completely inaccessible to most people, but if they have somebody to help them. And so he's like, yeah, they just lock people up.
That's crazy.
For being homeless. And I'm like, that is horrifying. Like, I had no idea. Like, I know Durham has its problems.
Yeah, it's not perfect.
It's definitely not perfect, but I was like, we're doing pretty damn well on that. Like, of being compassionate to people, and our city council's really thoughtful about it, and our police department's really thoughtful about it. And like, I grew up in a place where my parents were like, do not trust the police ever. Yeah. And so like, that's kind of my operating system. So like, when I see them doing something that's like compassionate and thoughtful, and like they have teams to help people, I'm like,
I don't understand this.
This is not my
this is weird
understanding of how this stuff is supposed to work. So like, I was really impressed with Durham, just for what you're saying. Like, these people are people, and we need to deal with them like with humanity and kindness. And the powers that be in Durham are doing that.
Yep.
And that's not the case in other cities in North Carolina.
I think that the argument that you hear in Durham is, how can we be more compassionate? Even now, I think that's what a lot of what's happening. There's an argument politically about we're not being compassionate enough.
Yeah.
We need to do these things, or we're listening to the national agenda, and the national agenda is kind of affecting our compassion or locally. So it's interesting to watch that take place in Durham. But you're right. I think we're here and we're in a community where this is commonplace, and we forget that there are places like that where the homeless, I mean, even the people that are addicted to drugs, I mean, and they're
people.
They're people
who have some like really hard lives.
Exactly.
Clearly.
Exactly. So being a human and really sitting back and looking at other humans and their circumstances, I think is incredibly important. And if no one takes anything out of this pandemic, I hope they take that compassion with them. What you just said and what you talked about with them sleeping under the pavilion. Not saying that you all should go and sleep under the pavilion. That's just amazing that you didn't go and call 911 and say, hey, you can get these people out.
You need to clear this out.
You need
This
to clear
is not
this
my
out.
problem.
Or put a fence up. We had someone close to us put a fence up. That's their property. But some things seem like a reaction.
Yeah.
When you see someone sleeping at a place too long, we put this fence up so they can't sleep here. And that's your place. That's your spot. But there's also a matter of, let me talk to this person, figure out who they are.
Yeah.
I've talked to a bunch of the homeless community in Durham, and it's amazing when you start hearing some of these stories. Like my man Chief, you know, his story is crazy. He's from the Pembroke area, but you got a lot of stories. You got a lot of people, and they need that compassion. Just smiling, just being nice to them. Are you good? You need something to eat? Thirsty? All right, cool. I mean, you know, whatever you can do. So that's amazing. So I know we talked a lot about gentrification, and I like talking to you about that kind of stuff.
I know,
anyway.
yeah, we talk about it a lot.
We talk about gentrification. We talked a bit about how you became the executive director for the park.
Mm-hmm.
What is your future looking like? I know you can't tell me everything, but tell me a bit about like you came from the farmers market, executive director, and maybe you'll stay the executive director for some time, but professionally and in terms of Durham, what kind of future do you see? What kind of future do you want to make? What are some things you see coming down the pipeline for Erin Kauffman?
Oh my God, I have no idea. I think about this literally every night, and I'm like, oh God.
I should have told you I was going to ask you this. My bad.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, that's something my husband and I are constantly trying to figure out. I mean, my job is consuming, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, and maybe I make it harder than it should be because like I have this like passion for like doing things right and
That's why
doing the
you're
right
perfect for it.
thing, and it does like really take it out of me,
Yeah.
and I don't know. My husband's he's working, but he's also in grad school, and he's got these like ideas of what he wants to do that are really esoteric.
Oh, snap.
And I'm just like, you're a great ideas guy, but
That's so fun.
how are you gonna make money?
Right. I'm going to have a yoga studio. Everyone can come in for free. How are you going to make money? Don't worry about that. It's all good. The spirits will feed me.
Yeah. And we have a kid. We got a 7-year-old, and he's just a ball of fire and really fun.
Yeah.
And so like I'm constantly thinking of like, okay, how do I take care of my family? I adore my family and I want the best for them. And like, we just have one kid, and my parents sent me to college and I was debt free, and I'm like, I want to pay that forward to my kid, and like,
Yeah, that's dope.
how do I make sure that can happen?
Yeah.
And if Kelly pursues this like these ideas that he has, like how are we gonna have health insurance?
Yeah. I think that's something a lot of people struggle with around here too. Being an entrepreneur, and then like, how do I take care of the necessities?
So I don't really know. I mean, one of the things that I did find really comforting during the pandemic was the numbers.
Yes. You can predict the numbers. You can add numbers. You can subtract numbers.
Numbers are really
They're predictable for the most part.
They don't email me weird questions.
They don't. They just say, here it is. I'm a bill. You owe me. Pay me. Yeah, that's what it is.
So like that kind of goes through my head of like, well, maybe like a do I go to grad school for something? I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place. So like today there's a forestry conference, like an urban forestry conference that's happening in the park. And man, I went to college and I majored in environmental science and geology because I like the field trips.
Wow. Okay. The field. Never mind.
I really hated school. And then, like, at the end, I was like, I should probably go to grad school, but I don't
No
want
more
to go to
school.
grad school anymore.
Yeah.
I took like geology light, just because I declared my major when I was a junior.
Yeah.
I declared it. My advisor was like, Erin, this is the track you can take and graduate almost on time. I'm like, all right, Dave, I'll do it.
Oh, I remember when they did that to me. I was like, so I can follow this and graduate on time. Cool. 6 years later, I had taken a semester off, changed my major like twice, so yeah.
I really wanted to take semesters off, and my mom's like, Erin, if you take a semester off, you're never going back, so no.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
bye,
yeah.
Mom.
See, when I took my semester off, I took it off towards the end. So that next semester was the semester I graduated.
Yeah.
And I took it off because I had no classes I could take that semester. So technically I was done the semester before,
Yeah.
but I had like these 2 freshman classes that I forgot about. And I was like, oh man, PE and sociology? Word, like I finished my major back in, it was like 03 or something. And I was like, I have to stay here to 05 for sociology and PE? Are you kidding me? Come
That's
on.
amazing.
It was wrong.
I definitely took, the last summer semester that I was there, I definitely took like fitness for a living.
See, yeah, the fitness class. And see, that's what it was called. It was called fitness. That was the class I took. So, go ahead.
So like they're down there and I'm like, man, I should have majored in forestry. That's so cool. I love trees. But I'm
What do we do with that?
also almost 40. And
Come to the other side. 40 is dope.
yeah, but
40
do I
is-
really want to go back to school? How do I find my way in this world? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Going back is tougher from what I'm hearing from people.
My husband loves it. He is like right up his alley, but
Yeah.
he's also like taking lots of classes at Center for Documentary Studies.
Oh, that's so cool.
He loves it.
Yeah.
It's great. But he's way more school-minded than I am, so I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. This is kind of, I feel like I'm kind of in the same predicament that I was when I kept telling my husband, like, I want to quit the farmer's market. I'm tired of this job. And like, I still really love my job, but it's also really overwhelming. I'm like, what am I going to do in 5 years? I don't know.
I get it.
And he's like, well, you can't take a step back because you're really good at lots of stuff, Erin. So like, I'm kind of there, and I'm like, the universe will present itself my next move, because that's what it always does.
Okay, well, let me give you something that's easier. Tell me about your vision for the future of the park. How about that?
Oh,
That's an easier one,
that's
right?
an easier one. My vision for the future of the park is lots of shade.
So many things we could do with these words that come out of your mouth. Lots of shade.
No, I that's been one of my favorite things, is like, we do all kinds of amazing programming, and I love our programming, and I love the direction things are going in,
Yeah, I love
of the
the
playlist
programming.
concert series.
Yeah. I love it.
And I feel like we're really
up there, too?
on track to keep doing good stuff in that. And like I said, I was an environmental studies and geology major, so like I really also love like the beautification aspect of the
Yeah.
park, and I've been really focused on that this year, and I really want to like be able to continue focusing on that. You know, all these like hard brick and metal and concrete buildings are
Yeah.
going up, so why not make this really an oasis? Because it started out as like you know,
It's a piece of land.
a piece of land
Yeah.
that there had been tobacco warehouses on. So like not like beautiful, pristine land.
Oh, yeah.
So like we've had 25 years of people just going out there and cutting weeds. And so we do lots of that kind of stuff, and it's really satisfying. It's really exciting to get like people from the colleges and we've got this like group of ER doctors who are like, we want to come out and volunteer every month. And I'm like,
They need it.
yeah.
They need to. They see so much craziness that being around nature and being able to touch that is so calming. And I know that's what I needed. You know, when when lockdown happened, I stayed in my garden.
Yeah.
I mean, you came over to the
I knew
house.
that. Yeah, I knew that.
Every time you come
all
out.
the herbs you guys are growing, and all that kind of stuff.
Herbs, tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, all that stuff. But just being able to touch the dirt and being around that stuff, it really just, it calmed me down a lot with all the anxiety I was experiencing during that time. So maybe that's what they're doing, you know?
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, I really want to see Durham Central Park go from, you know, having lots of little shabby corners to really just being this beautiful oasis that you can go into and go to a really cool concert or go to a community event that's put on by another organization, or just go to the farmer's market on a Saturday and be surrounded by beauty and, you know, a cool, and that you can interpret that however, space in downtown Durham,
it is cool.
You know, like with all the shade.
With all the shade. That was shade. That was shade right there. I heard it. But go ahead.
So I feel like the park's like 25 years old, and it's becoming, and I think it's just gonna always keep becoming.
Yeah. I liked it when I have a friend named, his name is Crisis. He's a rapper and a producer, and it's probably two years ago or so. I saw him over there. Hadn't seen him in years. And when we first started Kompleks, we were all in the same place. We were in the same building. Crisis was always making beats. And so I saw him. We hadn't seen each other in a while, so we went off to a little corner in the park just to sit down and chop it up and talk. And we were in this little corner, and we was so unsuspecting, and we were just sitting there. I think it was a little bench or something. And we were just sitting there, and while we were talking, he looked down and he was like, "Man, this is beautiful." It was just little flowers just growing. And it was just like, "Yo, dude, this is beautiful." And so it's just on the edge of the park. You've got like a little strip of just flowers and stuff. And we were just like, man, this little corner right here, like all the corners are just like little gardens. Yeah. So I love how you've done that, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. That's really cool.
That's good. Yeah. So that's really where I'd like to take it, and really just so like everybody can enjoy beauty. I think what was it? I was reading something, or I was talking to Mike Woodard one time, the state senator.
That's one of my guys. Good
and
guy.
I think he's on the board of the Arts Council or something like that, or he was.
Boards. He's on everything.
He's on every board. But he was like, everybody likes music. Yeah. You might not like the same kind of music, but everybody likes music.
That's true.
Like everybody likes beauty.
How much whiskey had Mike had that night when y'all were talking? Because
I think I was in his office.
Okay. No, Mike's my dude. I love him.
I mean, he was like, yeah. I mean, I can agree with like the hardest of hardline Republican colleagues, and like everything across the spectrum. Everybody likes some music.
He's right. That's the thing about Mike. I'll give him, and shout out to Mike Woodard. Known him for years, but he's always been a straight shooter. Yeah. You know, especially in the world of politics, you need people like that. And that right there those are words that I think can resonate with anybody. Yeah. And I try to incorporate music in the way that I work, but you're right. Music and beauty are things that people fight for, you know? So is that how Playlist came about?
Well, we had been doing this series called the Warehouse Blues series that had been started by somebody else, and then it kind of fell into Durham Central Park's lap. And so we would always do like community feedback surveys, and people are like, yeah, this is cool, but maybe more genres. Yeah. Maybe more weeks of doing it, because it was just like every weekend in July was when it was, and so there was several situations that were like, I worked with Tess, who's our programming person at Durham Central Park, and she and I kind of came up with this idea to have like a 10-week concert series.
Oh, of course Tess would come up. She loves stuff
she
like
loves
that.
Stuff like that. This is right up her alley. Yeah. I think that there was like a grant opportunity, and we wrote for a grant. We just like missed it by a hair because, and get this, Durham's too popular.
No, it is. It's too popular.
And I was like,
yeah. I can tell you as a Durhamite that Durham is too popular. So, I mean, it's a good and a bad thing, but.
So we put so much time and effort into like visioning this that our board was like, just go ahead and do it. Just get a bunch of sponsors and go ahead and do it. And we're like, oh, okay.
The board they're just like, yeah, money will come. We'll find it. Just do it. Yeah. I love your board.
And so they were like, we can put up like it was like $10,000 the first year. Like, we'll cover it at every cost as long as we can like make a plan that it becomes like a self-sustaining thing. And
Yes.
so we've done that over
Yeah.
the past 4 or 5 years. But it's just been so embraced. And Tess has got like a great mind for like all kinds of different music. If it was just me, it'd be all sad indie rock, let's be honest.
Portishead playing all the time, just like, what's happening right
Everybody
now?
just like sitting and looking at the flowers, crying into their hands.
I think I want to wipe my tears with this flower right here. That's what I'm gonna do. Wow.
So yeah, she's done a great job of pulling it together, and we partnered with WNCU this year, which I think is just like a great move because they've been a sponsor in the past, and they were like, hey, we want to do our own concert series, and we were like, let's talk about this because there's a pandemic and nobody has any money. You want to partner? And they're like, yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's been a trip. The Earth, Wind, and Fire show was fire. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was here, and I had friends hit me up saying, "Are you downtown?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm downtown, but I'm not really seeing people right now. But I'm downtown. If you want to walk past my Jeep, you can." And I was like, "What's going on?" "I'm going to the Earth, Wind, and Fire show." And I was like, "Word? Like it's popular like that?" Yeah. I was like, "Wow, we did."
Did you come down?
I was here studying. I was here working. Flashback. I was here working. That shows you what my college life was like. I was studying. Yeah, I was here working that night, so I didn't get a chance to go. And so when I finished working, I walked down there, but by the time I walked down there, people were kind of dispersing.
Yeah.
And it was late.
It was late, yeah.
Yeah, it was real late. That's why I was just like, wait, this is still going on. But yeah, people were dispersing, but it was amazing. It was amazing. Y'all are doing something special for the culture around here. So thank you.
It was great. I mean, I didn't, there were so many people there, I couldn't really get a sense of who was there, and I was also like really overwhelmed by how many people were there, so I was like kind of standing on the periphery.
Oh, I would have done the same thing.
And trying not to freak out.
Yeah. Or breathe in too deep.
Yeah.
Get a little
I mean,
rolling.
in all our conversations about should we do this, should we not do this, I was like, well, this is I said this to the board, I was like, this is an event that I would not let my family come to, but I will go to because it is my job. And I mean, then that weekend I saw my mom and dad, and they're like, that concert was great. And I was like, you were there? And I was like outside, like getting my mail, and my neighbor was like, that concert was amazing. Aaron was like, you were there?
Everyone was there. All of Durham stopped by that show that night. I'm telling you, I was here and I could hear it. And so it was just, it sounded great. I don't know who the band was. It was
CJ Baker was the band leader.
It was CJ Baker?
And he just had, there was like a ton of musicians on stage.
Okay.
And I don't really know who they were, but they were all amazing. And then Al Strong came on, played a couple songs, of course.
Of course, he wasn't going to let that
He's
opportunity.
everywhere.
Yeah, that's my man. We went to school together, Al Strong. That's crazy. So I want to talk to you a bit more about being a mother and being a CEO. You're an executive. And dealing with the pandemic, dealing with all this stuff. How you had to take 4 hours off each day. You had to split your time in half. But what has that been like trying to juggle the family, juggle Durham, because Durham is a job in itself, and juggle the Central Park? How do you do all of that? That's like superwoman stuff to me.
It's like very similar skill sets.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was thinking about that this morning of like, my job is very much just like being the mother of
like
the organization.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And being a mother is very much like being a CEO of the family.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you just have to like have everything in your mind, know everything that's happening, be able to prioritize and just like strategize like what has to happen first to be able to happen, like everything like
Wow.
So like I'm a mother, I've got a 7-year-old son, but we also have we have 8 animals.
Oh, so you have a lot more going on than I thought.
Yeah, and so we had 2 dogs, or one of our dogs died in May, and we've got 2 cats and 5 chickens.
Oh, you never have any bug issues, do you? With the chickens?
Yeah, yes and no.
Okay.
We live in the South.
You can't
bugs
get them.
every week.
You know, I bought a whole bunch of...
I cannot bring the chickens into my house to deal with
No, I wouldn't. But, I thought that, getting fly traps and all that stuff would help it out, but the bugs are so overwhelming in North Carolina. They don't care. They went to one of my Sarracenias and said, nah, I'm not going to die like this, and ate through the Sarracenia, through the hole. And so there's a little small hole in my pitcher plant. So
Oh, that's
North Carolina.
crazy.
Yeah.
Can I tell you the grossest thing that happened the other night?
Go for it. Let's go.
Okay, so
It's on video, by the way. But
great.
Go ahead. I'm just letting
I'm ready. Are you ready for this? It's
I'm ready for it.
disgusting.
Oh, wait.
I was so
Back
after
up. Rewind. I don't know if I'm ready now.
after my son goes to sleep at night, then it's dark enough that I'll just go out and close the chicken coop.
Yeah. You didn't go out barefoot, did you?
No, I never go barefoot
Okay.
in the yard. Ever. I've lived there for 10 years. There's still like broken glass heaving out of the ground. I feel like everywhere I go, there's broken glass heaving out of the ground. And there's also snakes. And there's
Chickens, don't they?
They do, but sometimes
do?
there's a giant copperhead.
Oh, yeah. No.
They don't eat those.
I don't go
there. It's terrible. But they do eat snakes. They ate a lot of snakes last year when they first moved in.
Nice.
And one of them got bit by a snake. It was disgusting. Her whole head swelled up.
Oh.
Anyway, that's not the grossest thing.
It gets worse?
Yeah.
You said the chicken's head swole up.
Yeah. I had to take her to the bird doctor. I remember I took her to the bird doctor and I was like, who takes their bird to a vet?
There's a bird doctor?
There's a bird doctor. I am that person
Wow.
who now frequents the bird vet. Anyway, so I went out to close the chicken coop. Usually, there's those disgusting camel crickets, a cockroach or two, and I went out and there were like 50 cockroaches, just
The
like
big ones?
The big
big
ones.
North Carolina
Yeah.
outside? Yeah.
I could. They're moving so much I could just hear them.
Yeah.
And I put my flashlight on them and they're just like everywhere. I was like, oh, I'm in shorts, so they're gonna crawl up my legs. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It was so gross.
Oh, that's not that bad.
It was so gross. I mean, but usually it's like 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden it was like this swarm, and I was like, where the fuck did they come from?
Yeah.
How is this happening? Is this every night? Is this my life now? Do I also farm cockroaches?
That's not that bad. It's horrible.
It's horrible.
That's horrible. Nightmare. Every morning, if I wake up early enough, I go outside of my deck, they're just chilling.
Oh, they're just chilling, yeah.
They're
They
just
love
out
the deck.
there. Yeah, they're out there on the deck. And it's weird when you watch them long enough. For me, I start to develop stories and stuff. Like I feel like they're talking, so I'll see one walk over like, "Hey man, what's up?" And the other one will say, "Not much." And you're like, "Oh, okay, we getting ready to go eat." "Nah, not right now. I'm gonna eat later." And the other one, "All right, cool." And they go off. And seriously, they go to each other. They're having
Yeah.
conversations and then move away. And they come back. I watched the ants high five on my deck one day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they
Like,
definitely do.
It's amazing. So
So anyway, to answer your question,
Go
to
ahead,
go
I'm
back
sorry.
to not cockroaches.
So you're
Yeah.
managing a whole. It sounds like a homestead, and then running a company too.
Yeah, so I mean, but you just have to like figure out like what's the priority for the day, what's like the long-term list of priorities, and how do I make that happen? Yeah, but then doing it for both things is hard, and so sometimes I'll be like cooking dinner and thinking about a response to an email, like I'm gonna say this, and how am I gonna say this, and be really clear and not put somebody down.
Don't burn
Get
that
my
food though.
point across.
Don't
And then my
burn
husband
it.
walks in and he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing, just
Yep.
thinking about work.
Yep. I do the same thing. I was up last night and I was actually playing video games and Chantal, she called me and said, why are you still up? It's 2 a.m. I was like, I just can't sleep. I'm thinking. But she was like, what's going on in your mind? I was like, oh, well, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this and then that and this and then the other. She's like, why are you playing video games? Yeah, that's what I do. I work stuff out in my head.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and honestly, there are times where I have to pause the game. It's horrible. I look like a crazy person trying to play video games. Like, I pause it and I have to go do some other stuff, like something different, just so
Yeah.
that I can kind of focus on this other thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I know how I'm gonna do that. Let me write that down. Let me go back and play video games again.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing in the world, and it looks like I'm a crazy person when I do it. So I understand.
That's what I do when I walk my dogs. I'll think and think and think, and I'll stop and I'll email myself something.
Yep, same deal. So I know we're gonna wrap it up, but I want to get some words of wisdom from you.
Oh no, okay.
And I want to get these words of wisdom because you are a nonprofit leader. You went through all this stuff. You came out with tools. You guys have a new business model for the pavilion. You know, you've got plans for how you want to grow the park and make it more beautiful. You can do different things. You can be more flexible with the programming that you do now. And then there's also, you know, the concrete and the steel that's going up around you all right now, which you're also trying to manage and keep the space beautiful. with that being the situation and you being a mother and a wife, what are some things you've learned through lockdown and through these pivots that you feel that you can that other people can internalize and maybe use as nonprofit leaders, CEOs, mothers, wives, etc., leaders? What do you feel are some of the most important things you've gotten that other people should maybe pay attention to? Oh, and the compassion part that you were talking about. Yeah, I just thought about that. I was like, oh yeah, compassion, yeah.
Okay, so here's some things that coming off the top of my head. Like, always pay attention to numbers. They are your friend.
Numbers are your friend.
Always find a way to be nice to people.
Oh gosh, yes. That is a jewel, yes.
Because you're just screwing yourself.
And plus, what I tell people a lot of times is you never know what a person's been through in that day. So you may be, dealing with a person that may be dealing with a death in the family, or they just got news that they're sick or whatever. Like, they may be treating you like shit because they've had a shit day. So I try to have a little bit of, grace in those situations. But yeah, you're right. Be nice.
But also, like, on the flip side, like, sometimes you're having that shit day.
Right.
And like,
it's true.
I don't want to be that person who projects my like when my dog died, I was just like, guys, I'm out.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I can't. I think I was trying to do stuff and I was like, I can't. And they're like, Erin, just take some time off. I'm like, thanks for giving me that permission because that is all that I needed. Like, I just can't. I can't right now. And then I listened to a bunch of podcasts and it was like, there's this concept of disenfranchised grief, and I was like, oh,
which is
like, it's not, when somebody, like, when your mom dies or something, then you can be like, my mom died, and people are like, oh my God, that's so sad. I'm so sorry. Like, you've got cancer, and like, oh my God, that's so sad. But like, if your cat dies, like, it's not like something that everybody has compassion for.
Oh, that's why I said my condolences when you said it.
Yeah,
that's a family member. Yeah,
lots of people don't see it that way, and it was actually a really fascinating situation of like, okay, so like, I could put people on this side or that side, and I was like, I just learned so much about the people that I know.
Yeah, you do.
Of like, I am suffering, and it doesn't matter why I'm suffering, but these people were nice to me and these people were dismissive. So noted.
Right.
So like but also like in those situations, I want to be able to just be like, hey, I'm having a hard time. I don't want to be rude or curt. I just need some time. And that was a big lesson for me. And also, like, when I was really, really overwhelmed, when like I realized that school was going to be virtual, and I felt like I was being pulled in different directions, just to be like super straightforward of like, this is my situation. I'm going to work as hard as I can to get stuff done, and I'm going to really prioritize what I can and can't do. So I'm going to be honest, this stuff is off my plate because I can't do it right now.
Right.
We're going to put that on 2022 because it's going to be a great year.
Moving to 2022, we'll be all right. Pandemic will be over then. Yeah, it'll be over.
But I mean, just like really being honest with yourself and with people around you of like, this is my situation. This is what I'm doing. And I'm also going to be really nice to you in the process of that.
I think a lot of business owners, CEOs, entrepreneurs, they don't do that. They don't ask for help. A lot of people don't. I mean, for me, I had to learn how to start asking for help again because I was so independent when I first started my company. And now I'm in a place now where I do ask for help. I'll say, hey, can you help me out on this? Can you do this? Or I just can't do it. And I think that's a skill set that a lot of people have to relearn because our egos get in the way of us asking questions. So hearing you say that is amazing, and it's something that I feel like a lot of people should take away from this. I hope they take away from this. Communicating what you can and can't do, communicating your emotional state, like you were saying, when it was your dog, right? When your dog passed, you needed time to grieve, to deal with that. I had some people in my family pass away a few years back. Chantal probably told you about it. And so with that, and then I also had a bunch of colleagues that passed away around the same time, and that's public with Mr. Freelon and Fail Win and a few others. These are people that were in my circle, people that I looked up to, Andrea. But that the thing that I learned then was I needed to take time. And you said that. You said, look, I got to take my time. I got to do this. But it takes a lot of people a lot to get to that point to remember to take care of themselves. And so it is amazing to hear you say that and say, you know, you communicate that, look, this is where I'm at right now. And I think a lot of people can take something away from that. So thank you for that. Thank you. Erin, is there anything else you have coming up? You know, I know you guys always have stuff bubbling at Central Park, Durham Central Park.
I always have stuff going on.
You always got stuff bubbling. And so I'm not sure when this is going to air, but if you want to go ahead and talk about some of the things going on with the park, go ahead and shout them out.
Sure.
If you want.
Well, every fall we do our Parties for the Park fundraiser, and that's been another it's okay. So here's the other thing that I've learned of just kind of ride the wave. So it's, you know, we started everything off. It's June, masks are coming off.
Yep.
Everybody's this, you know, it's 1% positivity rate. Everything's great. Everything's gonna be fine. And so we started out being it's gonna be a great fundraiser, and then all the shit hit the fan in August, and we're oh, okay. Well,
no, them Deltas came out with that. Ooh, we got that Delta variant.
Roll with it. And so we've been planning in fits and starts. But we're gonna Parties for the Park season. We're gonna do a handful, and we're just gonna be you know what, it is gonna be what it's gonna be, and it's gonna be great. And so that's coming up. So we'll have tickets going on sale next week, which is September 22nd or something like that.
Okay.
But that'll be going all through the fall.
So the event goes throughout the fall. So when the tickets go on sale.
Yeah, the events are from October to December.
Okay. And the parties in the park, can you talk to me about what that is a little bit?
Sure. So there's a bunch of so people and businesses will host a party. So for example, Plum Restaurant is hosting a special dinner in October, and so we sell tickets, and they donate everything.
Right.
And so people buy a ticket from us and get on the guest list for that, and they go to Plum and they have an amazing dinner. And Plum, you know, donated all the food, all the labor, all the alcohol. And so it's things like that. And then there's other people who have an individual garden party, or we're working with some to have a bunch of food trucks come to the park for a little mini food truck rodeo. So it's all kinds of different things where people donate their time and energy to put together this Party for the Park, and people buy tickets to it.
Very nice. What else you got coming up?
Well, every year we partner with Liberty Arts to do the Iron Pour. That's coming up on November 6th. It's going to be amazing. I'll see you there.
Yeah, I gotta go to that. Yes.
And then we're going to really, you know, then we have our fall, our winter fundraiser where we ask people for money and say, hey, these are the great things we've done this year. Support us so we can have another great year. You know, the park's amazing.
Nice.
And then we're just going to hunker down and figure out what 2022 is going to look like.
We all need to do the same thing. Well, Erin, I want to thank you so much for coming down here. We got to do this some more. We don't have to do it with the cameras, but we got to sit down and talk some more.
My office is right next to Coco Cinnamon Series, so let's get some coffee.
I haven't really been over there as much as I used to be.
I know.
I went over there for the first time, what was that, last week, Samantha? Last week I went over there and got us some coffee and stuff. So I might go today. I'm probably going to go after this.
Sweet.
So thank you. If y'all want to keep up with Erin and Durham Central Park, where can they find you?
Well, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Durham Central Park.
There you go. And then you can also, if you're in Durham, you can actually go to Durham Central Park.
Oh, yes, there's that. I mean, you can see what we're doing in pictures. But Durham Central Park is 501 Foster Street.
Go
There's
for
always
it.
things happening.
Always stuff, food truck rodeos, Black August in the park, everything. There's all kind of stuff happening out there. I've got a lot of favorite events. Playlists, obviously. Kompleks is a sponsor for Playlists, and this is one of my favorite events and projects that you all throw on and that we were able to be a part of. So thank you.
I'm so thankful for that.
Thank you. So Erin Kauffman from the Durham Central Park, thank you so much for coming out here. And for everyone else out there, please like, subscribe, go in the comments and tell us what you think. Because honestly, I want to go to the comments and see what y'all are thinking about some of the things that we're talking about during Konversations. There are some deep things that come out of this. There's some insightful things that come out of this. And I'm really interested in what you all think. Not the trolls, but all the regular people. please go in the comment section, subscribe. If you're listening to it on a podcast, on your favorite podcast network, go to Spotify, go to Google Podcasts, go to Apple Music, and you can find us. Just make sure you subscribe, you like, you follow. And again, my name is Tobias Rose. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Konversations, and I'm gonna holler at y'all later. Peace.